Hey loves, it's Britt, and in this video I'm talking about Venus square Uranus in Synastry. So when this one shows up in the Synastry chart, it can be a bit of a red flag. Now, it's more so showing that this relationship could have the energy more of a really exciting fling rather than a stable long term union. So, whenever I see it, I do like to point that out because it does usually show up in a more shorter term, super exciting, exhilarating, attractive affairs, which don't have enough compatibility or similarity in like lifestyles to be long term. Now, that could change if there's other aspects that are more stable, or if the rest of the synastry shows like a really good compatibility, then this could just show that there's a constant kind of buzz and challenging each other. And also, it does show that like this relationship will open your mind and it'll change your life in a big way. So it can work. I don't want to sound too negative. You guys know me. I like to always have a positive spin on things, but it is important to talk about certain squares, Moon square Uranus, Venus square Uranus specifically tend to show up in more shorter term affairs. And, there can still be a lot of value in these relationships because that's what Uranus does is it creates like a sudden shocking awareness or a sudden shocking life change that can definitely be for the better. So this aspect though, of all the Venus Uranus aspects, they're all really quite exciting, but the square creates such a tension, right? I just read this post today by someone. It was about sexual tension and how, that sexual tension actually comes from a feeling of like not safety or something. And like when you truly find the one, they're gonna feel safe and it won't be like as sexually exciting or something like that. I'm totally butchering the quote. It's from Jenna Vincent on Facebook. She also does astrology too. But anyways, I just read that today and that was just coming to me in my mind as far as this aspect. It's like that sexual attraction, that sexual tension that comes from, being with someone that is maybe dangerous, right? Or, with Venus Uranus, it's like there's something unconventional. Maybe there's an age difference. Maybe there's a background difference. Maybe there's very huge personality differences and lifestyle differences. But yet you're so attracted and it's wild, it's magnetic, it's crazy, right? It's like you can't get them out of your head. It's just the most intense thing. And the thing with Uranus too, Uranus square to Venus, is that you get the sense that this is something, right? That this is something powerful because of the way that you feel, that exhilaration. It's like the butterflies, you just know this is something, right? And it definitely can be something. And it just might not be something that is forever. I had this aspect with most of my first boyfriends or first relationships of all kinds in my teens because my Venus in Aries was square to Uranus Neptune conjunct people that were born about 2 years older than me, which were my first boyfriend and my second boyfriend and some other men that I was interested in, excited by. So I'll always remember that phase of my life as a teenager with this Venus in Aries square Neptune, and then these men with the Uranus Neptune conjunction born in 1993 squaring my Venus. So these were not long-term relationships. They probably only lasted a few months. But they were very exciting. And of course, they were life changing for me because these were my first relationships. This is me going from, never having a relationship to having some of my first relationships with men. So I'll always remember that as these relationships and that aspect, which also was coinciding with the Venus Neptune square as well. So it's a little bit different, a little bit more Neptunian than just the straight Venus Uranus square, which I'm talking about here. Um, so yeah, if you just have this one alone in isolation, and like there's nothing else hurting your Venus, and there's other positive beneficial aspects happening to your Venus, this aspect is just going to show that sometimes you're going to butt heads. Sometimes the Venus person is going to feel like the Uranus person is unstable, or it's like they don't appreciate their individuality, or like their Uranus rebelliousness, which is like the opposite effect that sometimes the conjunction or the sextile or trine can have, where it's like the Venus person is really turned on or feels pleasure, and the Uranus person's like crazy, or their weirdness or their eccentricity, right? But with the square, it's like the Venus person is annoyed by the Uranus person's Uranus more than with those other aspects. So yeah, and the opposition too. Sometimes the Venus person can definitely feel that the Uranus person is cold and not receptive to their love, or just flaky. They think of them as just like this uncontrollable influence that they want to love, but they just don't feel like they're stable enough. Or in some cases, the Venus person can even feel that the Uranus person is like insane, like mentally, in some rare cases, because it's just very off-putting to have Uranus squaring a planet, because Uranus is like the most rebellious energy. It's where you don't want to submit, or you don't want to tone it down. So it can end up being that the Venus person feels like the Uranus person is just this massive flake or commitment phobe, and the Uranus person feels like the Venus person is just overly emotional or sentimental, or attached to them, and they're just trying to get their freedom. Now, you could also see this reversing, though. It does sometimes happen, so it's worth mentioning that sometimes it can be the Venus person who is the flaky one or the uncommitted one. It does sometimes switch like that. But either way, there's something unusual about this relationship. Usually the timing is a bit unusual too. Like it can begin really, really fast, and they're together and they're dating and they're like having this epic love affair, and then end just as fast. There's something weird about the timing with this relationship. And it might not be that story. I mean, that's the classic Venus Uranus story, but it could be different. It could be maybe this is someone you've known for a really long time and you never have attraction for, and then all of a sudden one day it just pops on and you're wildly attracted. So there's something inconsistent about the relationship's excitement, and like the energy is so buzzing with Venus square Uranus that it's hard to like tone it down. You're definitely going to get at each other sometimes, and you have to be willing to let the other person be themselves, and you have to really look at it honestly, like when you have this square, and think, is the way that this person lives compatible with the way that I want to live? Or is the way that this person loves ever going to work for me? And these are good questions to ask yourself when you're entering into a relationship with this aspect, because it might be that you're getting caught up in the exhilaration of it, and not looking at the actual facts that this would never work. Now, it could work if, like I said, there's other aspects that are good, and even with people that are more Uranian, like people that are Aquarius or Aquarius Venus or Aquarius dominant, Uranus dominant, Uranus squares aren't going to be too bad for them, right? But it's people that are more Saturnian, that like things that stay the same. They like things that fit into a box. This relationship will never be that. There is something so unconventional about it right from the start that it's not going to be normal. There's always something funky or weird about it, and it's definitely going to be exciting. It's definitely going to be an exciting one. And you can also really, even more so with the square, out of any of the Venus Uranus aspects, come to amazing realizations about yourself and your heart and what you really love and how you really love. This relationship is going to shock you into those realizations. You will be forced to know the truth about yourself through this connection. So it is almost like a square to Uranus is the most powerful aspect for the genius quality of Uranus to come in, because that's the higher aspect of Uranus, is like spiritual energy, like genius energy that is like connected to source. It's like divine inspiration. Now, it's not a very like comfy, cozy, like loving energy, but it's the energy of pure wisdom. So, with that being said, this relationship, one of the best qualities that you can get out of an aspect like this is like profound realizations about your love nature and what you really need in love. And maybe the realization will be this relationship can't give you that, but you're going to realize things for sure. So yeah, I'd love to know your experience of this aspect in synastry. Was it like this? Was it not like this? Let me know in the comments, you guys. And thank you for your requests. Keep them coming. We'll talk soon. Bye.